Pitch Perfect was a film that really surprised audiences when it first came out in 2012, and has since become something of a modern classic in the musical comedy space. Directed by Jason Moore, it's a film that took the college a cappella world, something most people didn't even know much about, and turned it into a funny, feel-good, and surprisingly musical experience. So let's take a look back at why this film still works, and what parts maybe don't hold up as well, but why the music is truly the standout. So Pitch Perfect introduces us to Becca Mitchell, played here by Anna Kendrick, a character who's introverted, musically gifted, but doesn't really want to be part of the college scene. She ends up joining an all-female a cappella group, the Barden Bellas, who have just gone through a very public and very messy failure in a competition. And by messy, I mean literally messy. Anna camps Aubrey vomiting on stage. It's one of those over-the-top slapstick moments that some people find hilarious and others find completely out of place. Personally, I think it's one of the sillier moments that doesn't really fit in with the tone of the rest of the film, particularly later on when she vomits crazily in front of the others. But hey, I suppose comedy is subjective, right? The film sets up a rivalry here between the Bellas and their main competition, the all-male group, the Treblemakers, led by Adam Devine's Bumper, who by the way is one of the most comedic standouts of the entire movie. Now, the real reason this film works is because of the cast. Anna Kendrick as Becca nails the shy, withdrawn, almost reluctant star who slowly comes out of her shell. She gives us a character who feels grounded in the film that sometimes veers into ridiculousness. Then of course you've got Rebel Wilson here as Fat Amy, and this was absolutely her breakout role. She's brash, over the top and constantly funny. Her ad-libbing is sharp and she really brought something new to the film. It's actually sad to see how her career didn't quite live up to the promise of this performance because she really shines here. Anna Camp as Aubrey and Brittany Snow as Chloe play the co-leaders of the Bellas. Camp is uptight and traditionalist while Snow is warmer and more approachable. Together they balance each other out nicely and they give Becca something to push against as she tries to reinvent the Bellas sound. Then we've got Skylar Aston as Jesse, the romantic lead. Honestly, I've always felt he was a little bit cast and somewhat bland, especially compared to the more colourful personalities around him. His character's love of the movies and film score is a nice touch, but he doesn't pop the way some of the other characters do. And his chemistry here with Kendrick is somewhat believable, but not overly enduring. Then Platt plays Benji, Jesse's awkward roommate who's obsessed with magic and he wants to be a troublemaker. Platt is fine here and he has his moments, but you can tell he's still finding his screen presence. Of course, Platt is more known for his on-stage presence, as he's an excellent musical actor, but let us not dare mention his screen version of Dear Evan Hansen. Then of course there's Adam Devine as Bumper. He's ridiculous, over the top and very funny. He's one of those characters you love to hate, but his confidence just makes every scene pop. I also have to mention Elizabeth Banks, of course produced the film, and John Michael Higgins as the competition commentators Gail and John. They are hilarious with lines that are sometimes wildly inappropriate, but they give the film this quirky sports broadcast feel. Fun fact, the role of Gail was originally written for Kristen Wiig, who turned it down. Amy Poehler was also considered before Elizabeth Banks stepped in to take the role for herself. Now let's talk about the real heart of the movie, the music. This is where Pitch Perfect absolutely soars. The a cappella arrangements are incredibly well done. They take familiar songs and reinvent them in ways that give you goosebumps. From riff-off scenes to the final performance, you can see the amount of work and effort that it must have gone into arranging and performing these numbers. A cappella is such a unique musical art form. Without instruments, everything relies on the voice, rhythm, melody, bass, percussion, and Pitch Perfect really captures the skill and creativity required to pull this off. One of the most iconic musical moments comes not from a big performance, but from something very small. Anna Kendrick singing When I'm Gone with the Plastic Cup. The Cup's routine became a viral sensation, so much so that Kendrick recorded a full version of the song and filmed a musical video. That video now has over 690 million views on YouTube. I mean, that's insane for a simple cup tapping rhythm, but speaks how catchy and memorable it was. And little scenes like the shower scene between Kendrick and Brittany Snow, where they harmonize absolutely perfectly, just add to this film's enduring presence. The film also uses music to show the contrast between old traditions and new ideas. Aubrey wants to stick to traditional Bella songs, while Becca pushes for mashups, fresh takes, and more modern energy. That tension drives the story forward and makes the final competition payoff all the more satisfying. Of course, this is also a comedy, and for the most part it works. There are definitely some jokes that feel a little dated now, and some lines wouldn't land the same way some years later, but the majority of the humor still gets laughs. Rebel Wilson's delivery is a huge part of that. Even the little throwaway lines end up being memorable because of the way she performs them. The movie balances its comedy with heart. Sure, the story is predictable. We know from the start that the Bellas are going to go from underdogs to champions, but the journey is entertaining enough that it doesn't really matter. And you're prepared to go on a ride, with the Bellas. Jason Moore, who directed the film, really deserves more credit. He gives the film an energy and pace that makes it fun to watch. It's a shame he didn't direct the sequels, but only went on to direct Sisters after this, which didn't have the same spark. You can tell his work here is part of what made Pitch Perfect stand out, something that I felt the sequels didn't quite have. As mentioned, since this movie was made, it developed a franchise, spawning 2 more sequels, a TV spin-off, and a massive fan base. But honestly, the first one still feels like lightning in a bottle. It captured something fresh, quirky, and musical in a way that the latter films couldn't quite replicate. So overall, Pitch Perfect is still a really fun film. Yes, it has some silly and dated moments. Yes, the story is predictable, and not every casting choice works. But the music, the energy, and the humor make it something special. The cast, particularly Anna Kendrick, Rebel Wilson, and Adam Devine, bring the film to life, and the musical numbers are genuinely impressive. Pitch Perfect gets an 8.5 out of 10. It's a movie that will make you laugh, make you smile, and maybe even give you goosebumps with its music. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this review, hit the like button, subscribe for more, and let me know in the comments what's your favorite musical moment from Pitch Perfect. For me, it's still that cup scene, simply unforgettable.